Dr. Annalisa de Lima here with the next installment talking about wellness. This time we're talking about wellness nutrition. Please like and subscribe if you like what we're talking about and if you want to see more content. Hi everyone, Dr. Annalisa de Lima here with Danielle Bettigrew. I'm back on our wellness series and I brought her in today to talk about all things nutrition. So I'm so excited to have her here. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
It's so good to have you here. Some of you may know I talk about her a lot. She's been such an integral part of my wellness journey, figuring out how nutrition fit in my life and how I use it to make sure I'm feeling well and healthy and also able to do all the exercise I want to do and the activities I want to do. There were a lot of things that I found out that I thought I knew what I was doing. Turns out I didn't really know that much. So I'm so grateful to have her here. So I'm gonna let her tell us a little bit about how she got into this.
Thank you. My name is Danielle. I was into fitness way before I was into the nutrition side of things. It took me a few years to realize that those things go hand in hand. So I have been coaching CrossFit in some sort of capacity for 10, 11 years now.
Wow.
And then I got into nutrition around 2016. So I went to school for exercise science. I figured I would do physical therapy or something like that. And then quickly found that I loved CrossFit and I would do whatever it took to make that my entire life. And then I discovered nutrition. So I went on to get some certifications for nutrition coaching, and that kind of ultimately became my greatest passion. When I realized what it did for me, I wanted to be able to give that back to others.
It's so exciting because I'm also at the gym where Danielle's now. You're a coach and a co-owner now, right?
Correct,
and
yes.
that's more recent, the ownership part of it.
Yes, since this year.
Yeah. So the cool thing is being able to talk to someone that doesn't just have the nutrition perspective or the exercise perspective. She actually has like the whole shebang. So we can get really how they all tie together. So I'm going to ask you our first question to explain a little bit for me what balanced nutrition means for you, or when you're explaining it to a client.
Yeah, so a balance is, and we've kind of talked about this before, eating good quality food and eating all of the food groups. So we have what we call macronutrients, which are proteins, carbs, and fats, the things that we consume in the largest quantities, versus like vitamins and minerals, which we call micronutrients, the foods that we consume in small quantities. A balanced meal or a balanced diet is going to be a combination of all three of those things, not too much, not too little, and a diet full of vitamins and minerals, fiber, all that stuff, kind of tied in to give you that balanced approach.
So the concept of eating like healthy and shopping the outside of the grocery was always something that I was aware of. But when I met with Danielle, what was new to me was the concept of macronutrients. I thought I knew something about it, but I didn't. Can you explain to me a little bit, like, what does that mean when we talk? I know you talked about the 3 macronutrients, but what is it? What is a macronutrient?
Yeah, just the things that we're gonna consume, even if you're not tracking macros, which is a very trendy thing the last decade or so, you're eating them. So proteins, carbs, and fats are gonna be the main components of what makes up our food. So
right.
Yes, so like for example, protein would be like a chicken breast or something that you're eating. That would be primarily a protein source, but it also contains other things depending on what it's cooked in. Could contain, carbs and fats as well. But those things that we're eating in high quantities at each meal, and through the day and weeks and years, those are the things that we ultimately want to focus on because that's the main thing that we're going to be consuming.
Yeah, and those are really like the 3 main groups of what our body needs to sustain and function
Correct.
Effectively. Because I know sometimes we hear about, all right, I'm not going to eat carbs, so I'm going to eat really low carbs. And one of the things that I learned through working with you is that our bodies really require all of those nutrients.
Yeah, so carbs are going to be our immediate source of energy. So you'll see like a big depletion in your energy when you're cutting out carbs. Maybe like a little foggy. So very important for everyday function, not just for the athlete, which is a big misconception. Also, we went through like a low fat phase where, we wanted to eliminate fat and do all low fat stuff, but fat is also very important
Yeah. So I know that we've gone through like phases with nutrition where we're told this is good, then this is bad, then this is good, then this is bad. And so, those are some of the misconceptions that we've had before, which is, we don't need carbs or we should have really low fat. And we've really found that, the evidence and research has disproven that more recently.
Yeah, so something will come out for whatever reason, the low fat trend happens, and then it's debunked a few years later, and then it's on to the next thing. So it's always people trying to find like simple solutions to things. And there are benefits of like lower carb diets when people have, different things that they're working through. But for the general population, we need, all
Balance.
three of those.
Yeah. So the myth that eating fat makes you fat is not really true.
It's inaccurate.
It's
yes.
inaccurate.
Maybe it makes you smarter though, because a lot of that is used for brain function.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed with regards to eating is when I don't eat enough fat or I don't combine enough fat with my protein and my carbs, is that I really don't stay full long. And I also just don't have that kind of longer source of energy, right?
Right, yeah. So we get a lot of our like secondary energy through fat, or you're just feeling, less foggy, less drained because you're eating that. But I'm sure we'll get into food quality a little bit. There's definitely fats that are better than some others.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are a few of the more consistent issues that you find when people come to you for help? So what are some of the things that people tend to struggle with?
I would say like 90 or more % of females specifically are like under eating like crazy. So they're coming to me unable to lose weight or even gaining weight, and they're like barely eating anything at all. And so I love my job because almost every single time I start a new client who wants to lose weight, I'm like, okay, we're gonna eat more. And then they see the results that they wanna see. So really rewarding to be able to teach women that less is not always better. I would say that's the biggest thing. And fad diets are also huge as well. People eliminating full food groups or trying to do like crazy juice cleanse and stuff that's just not necessary, and it just creates like disordered eating tendencies that don't need to be created to see the results that they want to see.
Yeah. I mean, even today, I've had times when, I don't remember the first time I came to Danielle, I was like, I kind of want to tone up and lose a little bit of weight. And she looked at what I was eating and said, you're not eating enough. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way that's true, right? And then she said, we're going to increase this and we're going to increase that. And then she's like, trust me. And I was totally shocked when by eating more, I started to actually lose weight, lose fat, and start to put on more muscle. And it was really interesting to me because the concept is always, well, you need to starve yourself or eat less.
Yeah, and so like, especially with you, somebody who works out a lot, all that stress in the gym is like being built up, you're building up that cortisol. And then if you're also restricting your food, that's just like adding to the stress versus like helping recover and build more muscle and take you out of that high stress zone. Your body is like not handling it all well when you're just stacking all those stressors on top of one another.
Yeah, so body goes into starvation mode, you're already producing a lot of cortisol from the stress of exercise and not eating enough. And so you tend to hold on to your weight as opposed to losing it. I wanted to talk for a minute just about, how trends really can lead into disordered eating. We have people, young people coming up and they're watching all the social media and they're seeing, things on there that are really unrealistic expectations. And then there's a lot of pressure to eat a certain way, follow a certain fad diet. And what I see in my work is people coming to me with really body image issues and a lot of struggles with disordered eating.
Yeah, so the fad diets, set you up kind of for failure because they're really hard to sustain, and they definitely, lead to kind of that binge effect at the end. If you're restricting yourself from carbs, you're not going to be able to do that forever. So eventually you're going to get to a point where you want carbs so bad that when you do eat carbs, you're eating a ton of them. Or even if you don't do that, when you finally reintroduce them, your body's not going to know how to metabolize them properly, and you're going to gain a lot of weight just from reintroduction. So we want to avoid that whole scenario by just, slowly manipulating your carb intake to reach a certain goal without making it so unsustainable that you have that opposite effect.
Yeah, so it really becomes like a vicious cycle when you get there.
Yeah.
One of the other things that came to mind for me that I was doing, and I'm guessing you may experience this with others, particularly women, maybe some men out there, that I was vastly under eating in protein. And I'm a meathead, right? I love meat, I love protein. And so I thought that's the one thing that I got it. You know, I was eating enough protein, and to find that I wasn't.
Yeah. And
know?
so that's where like tracking can be really great, even if that's not what you want to do. If you track for a couple days, you're like, oh, I, definitely eat enough protein. I love meat. I eat it with every meal. Or like I have a lot of people do the same thing with water. Like you don't really know until you track it all and find out. So I would say more people come to me under eating on protein than they do under eating on calories. So almost everybody is under. And so, yeah, something very important that you can find out just by like journaling a couple days to see where you're at.
So just to clarify for those that may not know, when Danielle's talking about tracking, you want to explain a little bit what you mean by that?
Yeah, so tracking could be, loosely journaling on paper. It requires a lot of math that way and looking at nutrition facts, but there's a lot of apps out there where you can just, type in chicken breast, raw chicken, cooked chicken, whatever, and be able to see the macronutrients, but also fiber, sugar, and those things. There's a lot of platforms that allow you to track all that information. So you have totals each day, totals for meals, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I don't want to get into too specific, like with, the amount of macronutrients or calories that people should be eating, but just as a general rule of thumb, is there like a range of protein that people should be staying in based on weight or height or age or anything like that?
Yeah, so the number is like on the lower end of things would be like 0.8 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass.
Okay.
So that would be, typically females are at that 0.8 with like the goal of weight loss or something. If it was, possibly a guy who has like a higher metabolism and more muscle mass in general, maybe they're trying to gain weight, that could be all the way up to like 1.4 grams per pound of lean body mass. So that number varies greatly based off of goals and body weight and muscle tissue that you already have. But yeah, most people are not doing that without like actively working toward it each day.
So just on an average, if you're someone who is like 125 pounds or 135 pounds, you may need to be eating 125 or 135 grams of protein per day. And so we find that a lot of people aren't doing that.
Yeah, I would say like 100 is a good number if you're somebody out there who like wants to see what you're at. If you can hit 100, I would say that's pretty good.
Yeah, and it takes a little work to figure out how to hit that much, right? You have to actually figure it out.
Right.
It's not something that is easy by any means, but once you figure out how to do it, it's actually pretty doable, and protein really keeps you full.
Yeah, and our body is made up of protein, so the most important macronutrient by far.
Yeah, I know. Recently, my niece came to you, right, to do some work, and one of the things that she was so just blown away by is by eating more protein, she really didn't feel the snack, and she just felt a lot fuller, and that was just a takeaway just on her own without knowing a lot of this information, and she just observed that on her own. So it was really interesting to hear her perspective as a a newbie coming into understanding how to eat in a healthy, balanced way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Ice cream truck. He comes every time we go to record.